Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode number 2 of the Rapid Review. As I do every single week, and be breaking down everything that went on in the overall market this week, get everybody ready to trade for next week. So, without further ado, let's get started. All right, so starting off current state of the market, still in an uptrend. So this week was, in terms of price action, not a very eventful week, but definitely giving us some signs as to what could be going on in this market. So, but overall, we're ending in an uptrend. Distribution days, we did gain a distribution day on the S&P. That was on the 6th, and since that day, we are now 4 days past that and 0.95 above that. When we get 5% above the close of that distribution day, that will eliminate the distribution day or 25 trading days. And for those of you who do not trade using CANSLIM, this is a way for us to look at selling coming into the market. Could give us some signals that this market could be topping or turning over, or in this case, reversing back downward, not breaking out of the original downtrend that we were in. So yeah, one distribution day, nothing to be worried about as of right now, but we'll keep tracking that each week. All right, so in terms of the indexes this week, S&P down 0.47%, NASDAQ down 0.27%, Dow down 0.16%, and the S&P for the year is down 3.77%, NASDAQ down 7.16%, and the Dow down 3.04%. So a lot of red on this chart, but again, we'll look into the indexes and see basically really what went on. Even though there's a lot of red, nothing too much to worry about. All right, moving averages. So last week we were above all these moving averages, 10, 21, and the 50. We remained above those. Super, super positive sign. I'll bring up the indexes to show kind of how we maintained our way above those, but overall, very, very positive. Being above that 50-day, especially for a lot of trend following traders, that is a good sign. Being above that 50-day is just one of those things that if we're above it, normally we tend to be in an uptrend. So good signs there. 200-day, we're still below that. So we'll look at the charts over there and just talk about kind of where that 200-day falls in kind of a key level to keep an eye on. But yeah, other than that, we did not change in terms of where we sit on all indexes with the 10, 21, 50, and 200-day moving averages. So like I said, let's jump over and take a look at the indexes. Oh, let me bring that up. There we go. Sorry about that. All right. So we're taking a look right now at the NASDAQ. As you can see, this was a week where we're working with right now. Lots and lots of tight action. On Wednesday, we did dip below the 10-day simple moving average, but that's nothing really to worry about. The 10-day is something that I have on the chart, but to be honest, in terms of the overall trend, not something that really concerns me. What was pretty interesting to watch, though, is you can see that the volume was slowly picking up towards the end of the week as we kind of inched higher. So that was pretty interesting to me. And in terms of just looking at the overall volume in the past like 2 weeks, we're seeing more upside volume than downside volume, which is positive. We are still finding that we just can't get above this 325 high and this 200-day simple moving average. So as we started to climb up last week, we've seen some resistance right around here. We pulled back slightly on lower volume. And then towards the end of the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we tried to push higher, but still finding resistance at that area, finding a lot of tightness. Look, one of those things that I think a lot of people right now are really, really focused on is that 200-day simple moving average. And I think that the idea that we're kind of stalling around there is concerning a lot of people. But when I'm looking at things overall, and one of the things that kind of stands out to me is we're building almost like a VCP, especially for you Mark Minervini style traders. You'll understand what I'm talking about. A VCP type of pattern with the index. You can see we had this real big pullback. You could see it was very deep. We kind of came up, then pulled back again a little deeper, came up, pulled back now even tighter, and it looks like we're starting to try to break out of that. So that VCB type of pattern, that volatility drying up here, things getting super, super tight is definitely a positive thing in terms of your overall risk within the market. Because if we are to go from here and break higher, super, super positive. We're getting above key levels. We got this volatility contraction going on here, breaking higher. This is going to make me feel really, really positive about what's going on with this market. Um, but again, that's just something where we're looking at where we're sitting right now. It doesn't necessarily mean we're going up, doesn't necessarily mean we're going down. I just think the tightness, especially on how fast we rode up on both the Nasdaq, and to be honest, I didn't bring up the S&P, but it's really the same exact thing, is a positive sign. So on the upside, breaking above, making a new high over here would be good. Getting above the 325 and the 200-day, which are basically on top of each other, would be good. And that's like the two levels that I'm really looking at. On the downside, for me, really, it's two things. It's the 50-day simple moving average, keeping an eye on that. And if we are to break below that, it's the 21-day EMA. Those two levels, really on any of my uptrends, are the big levels that I keep an eye on. So we could find support at those levels or just remain higher than those levels, all positive things. 50-day is starting to kind of level out, which is a good sign, but that is really one of those things. It doesn't really tell us anything. It's just explaining what's happened, not what's going to happen in the future. Other than that, yeah, that's all I got to say on the indexes. Since we're live, both on YouTube and on X. I see a bunch of people in here. Feel free to throw your kind of comments out there. Let me know what you're thinking. If there's something I'm missing, if there's something you disagree with, by all means, chime in and share your thoughts. Love these things being collaborative and kind of having people bounce their ideas. And if you're watching this and it is after the fact, throw comments down below what you think. All right. So that's it on the indexes. What I did want to do is jump over. Oh, did not switch it. Stand by one. We're going to jump over to Deep View. And what we're going to look at is the 52-week highs and lows. I've been kind of tracking these throughout the week. And one of the things I did notice is what we're seeing from Friday does seem pretty consistent with what we've seen through the week. On the New York Stock Exchange, we saw highs beating pretty much every single day, beating out the lows. But on the NASDAQ, it's kind of been 50-50 split, which is pretty interesting. Again, I don't think this is going to tell us where we're going from here, but just kind of data to look at. When you start seeing the lows really, really outweighing the highs, tells you that it's probably a negative sign. If you see the highs severely outweighing the lows, excuse me, really, really positive sign. The 50-50 split, just something interesting that I saw throughout the week. I don't think it really tells us much, though. Looking at the Deep View Industry Tracker, on the left, we got 1 week, middle, we got 1 month, and then we got year to date on the right. Year to date, look, we're still battling, the beginning trend of the year where we saw miners just completely annihilating every other group. Gold, silver, all those miners really, really winning out the year in the beginning of the year. You can still see like some of those more protective plays where a lot of the big institutions like to park their money in downtrends still showing up over here. But when we look at the 1 month, we're starting to see things start to switch. You can see here blockchain, solar, software, growth stocks. A lot of these other groups starting to push their way up towards the top. Nothing really standing out to me right now, though, in here. And then the 1 week, you can see solar, airlines, blockchain, miners, semiconductors, oil, kind of leading out the week. So this is good to just kind of take a quick look at, see trends that are starting to see, especially in the 1 week. If I start to see the same thing winning out the 1 week over and over and over again, to me, that says that could be where a lot of the strength is coming into. You're also going to see this in your stocks as well. And one of the things I will say, the big trend that I am seeing in stocks is a lot of these pharmaceutical companies are really, really showing up on a lot of my screens. So not that they've succeeded, broke out every single one of them, and there's a ton of them trending upwards, but they're showing a lot of strength. So that's one group that I think has stood out to me a lot. Comment below if there's a group specifically that you're seeing that stands out a lot. But yeah, I think we might be sitting back and waiting to see what group is going to lead this out right now. But just a quick look at some data to see what's going on. All right. Let's see. Other than that, That's pretty much where we sit this week. I think the big thing is we are in a point in the market where if the stocks are working that you're trading, just keep continuing to let those work for you. But it's not a time to really be going, I think, heavily into the market because we're at such a key level, a key pivot. Same way on a chart. If you were on a chart that had VCP type of pattern, or even a cup or cup with handle, and you were just below that buy point, you wouldn't want to be throwing a ton of money and going heavily invested on that stock before that breakout because we don't really know which way we're going to go yet. However, if we do see that we break through that point, that's where you really want to start putting money to work. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I think based on a lot of the action that we've had in the prior weeks, 40, 60, maybe even 70% invested, I think is fair, especially if these trades are working for you, if you find you've built some cushion in some of these stocks. Um, but in terms of being fully invested, I'm waiting till we get that break through that area that we talked about before. That's what's going to make me really, really want to be fully invested in this market. The other thing that I'm going to say is market aside, if you start to see the breakouts and setups becoming and working more, um, let the market pull you in. Let those stocks pull you in, because sometimes the stocks will lead before the market too. So, looking at the two of those things, it's just a matter of if I see strength in one of those, that's going to increase my exposure. But both right now, I'm just kind of sitting back and waiting. Other thing I'm going to mention is the variety of stocks that have been setting up is much, much bigger. A few weeks ago, you go on X, you go in here, and there was a ton of people talking about the same stocks. Everybody's talking about the exact same stocks, the exact same setups, the exact same things they were looking for. In the past week, there's a lot more names being slung around. A lot more names are setting up. A lot more names are breaking out. I'm even finding my lists are starting to get bigger, and I'm having to focus a little bit more and find the real, true best setups and best looking stocks, which is a good thing. Make myself work a little harder to really make a decision on where I want to put my money. But having so many things that are showing this could be possibly a good setup is a real, real positive thing. So, um, yeah, if we start to continue to see those setups work, that's what I think is the thing we're also waiting for. Same way that the market is kind of right at that point. There's a lot of stocks that have broken out, or if you got in at some early cheats like I have, you've been able to build a little bit. But in terms of really breaking into those all-time highs and having a nice strong uptrend, um, that we haven't seen straight across the market. There's only a few things that have really outperformed and gone up through like 52-week highs and continued higher. So if we start to see more and more of those setups working and building some cushion out of those breakouts, that's also going to make me pretty positive. So last words that I'll say on this one is, look, you don't want to be too quick, but you also don't want to be sitting on your hands and watch this market go on without you. That's why that progressive exposure is important. It allows you to get pulled into the market to where if the market turns around and this goes in the opposite direction, it's not going to kill you. But if the market does continue up, you're going to be able to participate. And it helps on both a financial level in terms of your portfolio, but it also helps also on the mental side of things. If you're sitting out of this market and this market goes up without you, it's going to do some damage to you mentally. But if you're kind of in the market a little bit and you're slowly participating, and seeing some gains as the market starts to go up, your mindset's probably going to be a little more stable. And if the market turns around, seeing a little bit of your portfolio get, in downside, get stopped out of a couple things, it's not really going to damage you that much, or it shouldn't damage you that much, so that when the next true uptrend comes around, you're ready to go and you're ready to take the setups as they come at you. So other than that, that's all I got. I appreciate everybody. Got a lot more people than last week. So maybe I had to mess with the times and see what works for everybody. And like I said, please feel free to throw some stuff in the chat, questions, comments, whatever it may be. And like I said, I look forward to doing this every single week, throwing my 2 cents out there, and get to share my thoughts on the market with everybody. So that is all we got for this week. Depending on what you're watching on YouTube, X, there's the reverse of what you're watching on there. Discord channel where I talk about a lot of this stuff every single day is in the description. If you're watching this on a replay or if you're on X, you could actually just go into my profile and I have the link right there. And there's my email if you ever want to email me. Not that a lot of people do that anymore, but that's all I got. All right, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And to all the mothers out there, happy Mother's Day.